I do like bigger ships. I like how they look, and that they take just a bit more skill to fly. And how they usually do one thing really, really well. And this is one of those ships. Just a bit smaller than a Type 10. I'd say it's a bit more polished, but the truth is it just doesn't have all the extra crap glued on. This is the smooth and softened beating heart of the Type 10, laid bare. And that's a problem for me. Because this is brilliant. But I like this. This is the Type 9 Heavy Transporter. A ship specifically designed and built to be the most boring ship in the entire galaxy. Because it was purpose-built to do the most boring jobs. On paper, the Type 9 hauls the second largest amount of cargo of any ship, only behind the cutter. But that's without shields. In practical use, the cutter can't scale down its shield generator to allow for more cargo space, and the T9 can. Meaning, I can easily run north of 750 tons of cargo per load. And if I was the type of person who enjoyed buying and selling bio-waste for profit, I'd be pretty excited by that. But that's not all. If you're the type who gets unreasonably patriotic, you can participate in the large-scale community events of buying certain MacGuffins to move from one place to another. For reasons. And that's about it. Of course, you can use the Type 9 as a passenger transport, or on missions to planetary outposts. If you're feeling particularly dedicated to the role, you could take a Type 9 full of supplies to Colonia, to expand a certain faction's growth and influence. So they'll, I don't know, say something nice about you while you're docking. If you're the type of person who's legitimately invested in factions, and the impact that they have on the galaxy, then the Type 9 is your ship. It represents the greatest ability to directly affect the influence these organizations have. And I couldn't care less about any of that. That said, I'm not a total idiot. There's potential to make a lot of money here. If you move the right product at the right time, you can make a quick 100 million credits in less than an hour. But that usually means spending a good amount of time beforehand researching where you need to be in order to do that. And if that's not engaging enough for you, the alternative is this. At least it's pretty. Look, mining itself isn't terrible per se. It pays well enough, for the moment, and the Type 9 is relatively good at it. It's just not particularly fulfilling. It's not like I'm mining a certain element that I could use to build a different ship, or better armor. I'm gonna sell this painite to a station to make credits to afford to fly something else. And not to put too fine a point on it, but if I had to go mining to make credits, I wouldn't do it in this ship anyway. The maneuverability is terrible, it's too big between the rocks, the power distributor isn't big enough to handle all the mining lasers at once, and I really don't want to spend 4 hours in the fields filling up the massive cargo hold. Worse still, once it is full, a Type 9 with a couple hundred tons of painite is a major target for interdiction. An interdiction you can easily lose. Because you're in a Type 9. But this did get me thinking. The two major problems with running transport in a Type 9 are interdictions and that you have to pay for the cargo. And that cuts into profit margins. So I've built this. A Type 9 to do the kind of cargo running I prefer. The fun kind. And the trick here is not to be too greedy. If you don't open fire, most NPCs will flat out just run away. You can usually get 2 or 3 good pulls of cargo before they can manage to jump out of the instance. And if you're okay with only pulling a bit from each ship, you can do this for hours. Especially in a Type 9. And while the payout isn't anywhere near close to a dedicated pay-night mining trip, I enjoy doing this a lot more. Walk softly and carry a big cargo hold and all that. I know it sounds like I don't actually like the Type 9, but I do. I like its rounded edges and the potential for what it might be if I could live in it, instead of just sitting in a chair. But as it is, dropping off supplies with a click of a button, or trudging slowly through an asteroid field doesn't really do much for me. I just don't have a use for it. But here's the thing. I'm reasonably sure I'm using the Type 9 completely wrong. I'm not sure it's meant to be flown alone. I think it's meant to be flown in a convoy. I don't think mining for paynite is supposed to look like this. I think it's supposed to look like this. I think organized wings of T9s are supposed to overwhelm community goals at a moment's notice. I think 4 Type 9s are probably harder to take down than just 1. I think there's strength in numbers, and friends with mining lasers. Thanks so much for watching, and the link for the soundtrack is down in the description below. If you like this episode, please consider subscribing, and if you already have, then thank you again, and I'll see you next time.